First on Fox Business, mystery and intrigue surrounding the head of America's largest oil company. Now, unlike every other character vying for a cabinet position, ExxonMobil CEO Rex Tillerson actually avoided the public eye during his meeting with the president-elect. That's why we're showing you what's called file video, and not video of him walking in. He went in some different entrance. Now, the leader of U.S.'s biggest oil company used a private entrance to get into Trump Tower. Is this a sign of a shift in the race for Secretary of State? Joining us now, as I said, in a First on Fox Business interview is the man with an inside scoop on just who attends the meetings at Trump Tower, including you, Rick. You're the former U.S. spokesman at the United Nations. You are on the Trump transition team, at least advising them. Does this give added oomph, I guess, to a name like Rex Tillerson that he was able to go in unviewed or sort of in the back way?
Well, what I love about this individual going in is that Donald Trump is really looking broadly at trying to figure out who's going to be America's top diplomat. And there's a whole bunch of information that goes into that, and he's exploring it. President-elect Trump is looking at all angles, and I think he's on a quest to figure out what are the right criteria for appointing the top diplomat. From my standpoint, and I know that the many inside the Trump transition team are thinking about this, but reforming the State Department has got to be at the top of the list. The State Department is desperate for reform. It's gotten way too bloated, and it's a target-rich environment at this point.
Well, I'm sure you see positives and negatives when it comes to Mr. Tillerson, but look, when you look at the hot spots around the world, you're talking about China. There's some concern there, especially recently. We can mention what's going on with Taiwan and China, but also the Middle East is a hot spot. So as it pertains to China, we've heard John Huntsman, the former governor of Utah, who's been the ambassador to China. He speaks fluent Mandarin. He certainly looks like he's got that important skill set. Or, for example, General Petraeus, who knows the vagaries and the different shades of gray when it comes to all of the drama that's going on in the Middle East. I don't know, when you think of the world's biggest problems, those two guys on this pretty broad list seem to me like they may have perhaps more useful skill sets than Rex Tillerson. Nothing wrong about him, but he's had business deals with Venezuela and Russia. Okay, but you know, what is Donald Trump looking for here?
Well, I think at this point he's talking to a whole bunch of people to figure out, you know, what's going to be the best criteria for trying to pick America's top diplomat. I mean, we can't forget to talk about John Bolton, who's my old boss, who is just phenomenal. He's a loyalist. He's an expert on a variety of different issues. And you've got Rudy Giuliani. I think that on his list, and one of the reasons why it's taking so long is that we do have a lot of choices. The Republican Party has many people who would be great at Secretary of State.
But, Rick, did you just recommend John Bolton? Do you think he's your top pick? I'd love to know from you. I mean, you know these people.
John Bolton is absolutely my top pick because I know him. I know him to be a workhorse. I know him to be really honest, and I know him to be really loyal. So I think he would be a phenomenal Secretary of State, not only because he's going to bring information to President-elect Trump, but because at the end of the day, John Bolton understands who the president is, and he would absolutely implement the Trump policies.
I got to ask you about Taiwan, because the president-elect did, of course, take the congratulatory phone call from Taiwan. I don't see anything wrong with it, but I don't know all the moving pieces when it comes to diplomacy. We do know that in the past we've seen things like the Taiwan Strait crisis, not one, not two, but three, when China perceived some slight. Do you think right now, because Donald Trump took that congratulatory phone call from the president of Taiwan, does not have good relations with China, that China right now is getting ready to do something, to buzz Taiwan with planes? No, really?
Nah, I don't think so. I think, look, the Chinese know that they had a phone call more than 2 weeks before this congratulatory call. So the Chinese phone call between President-elect Trump and President Xi, there was a substantive call. It was early, it was first, and this Taiwanese call was just a simple congratulatory call from a democratically elected leader. So I think it was pretty simple. And I get that people are making this a big deal, but when you look at the facts, I think it just simply says, you know, it was a congratulatory call.
Well, you and I know that. And we've got no problem with a congratulatory call from a democratic nation like Taiwan. Good to see you, Rick. Thank you so much.
And I get that. I get that it's got policy implications, but I don't think it's that big.
Rick Grenell, former U.S. spokesman at the United Nations, first on Fox Business. We thank you.